Welcome back to the Leather Shop. I'm your host, Matt Roach, and this month I have, oh, wow, losing my voice. I have Will Hodges from, now you're going to have to tell me how to say, is it Treve, Cambridge, Treve? Because you're British. You probably have a nice way of saying it.
Treve, Cambridge.
Treve, Cambridge. It's got a nice feel to it. I like it. Is there a meaning behind the name? Is it like, based on where you're from, or is there some significance to it?
It's the first, if I can count, first 5 letters of my middle name.
All right, I like it. Look at you. You're like Taylor Swift finding the little hidden things in there. I like it.
Yeah, well, yes.
That's pretty cool. So I have actually been really
Is
enjoying
it
that.
recording my audio? Because I can't see any waveforms.
Yeah, it is recording it.
Cool.
So I
Wonderful.
mean, it
Sorry.
wouldn't be an episode without somebody having some sort of question of if it's working or not. I think every episode we wonder if it actually works or not. And then at the end we go, well, all right, we did get an episode. So I already lost my train of thought. So that's how you know. So I'm back. So I have been enjoying asking listeners who they would like to hear. And a couple people reached out and they said they wanted to hear from you. And I've really enjoyed it because it's actually opened my eyes to meet people I, don't always know or find, because leathercraft is far more expansive than we realize. So, start off by telling the listeners who you are. Who is Will Hodges is the question that everybody wants to know.
Well, that's a very good question. The way you pronounce my surname is very interesting. It's very North American.
How is it actually supposed to be?
I just say Hodges, but I'm English, so that's how we pronounce it.
So I actually was right, which is what do most North Americans say?
Hodges.
Oh, like the hard,
Yeah, the
yeah.
hard O at the beginning.
Oh, look
So,
at
who
me.
am I? I make leather stuff, I guess. I started in 2019. I have a very untraditional background. I never did any crafting or anything similar to that when I was growing up. I was a very uncrafty person. I started it just after I finished university. I did paramedics when I did university, so I'm a qualified paramedic by trade. And when I finished uni in 2019, I needed some way to de-stress. It's one of the most stressful jobs I think there is, working in the emergency services. Um, and as a result of that, I needed a way to decompress when I got home from work. And it all started when I realized that I thought I could make a wallet, and I couldn't. I had a River Island wallet. If you're from the UK, you'll know what River Island is. It's like Walmart or something. And it was disintegrating. It was absolutely falling apart. And I thought, oh, how hard can it be? The answer is very. So I bought
True.
some 4 mil thick leather because I thought that was a normal thickness. I don't think I've ever used 4 mil thick leather since. And I bought some eBay tools and failed at making a keychain. And I haven't really put anything down since.
I feel like that's a lot of people's stories of how they got in. They needed something out of necessity, and they were like, I bet you I can make this. And they usually royally screw it up, and they're like, okay, this is not as easy as I thought. And then they're like, okay, now I'm addicted. So I'm going to start
Yeah.
buying this tool. And you buy those garbage tools and you go, oh, but I bet you it would look a lot nicer if I got these tools. And then you get these tools. And before you know it, a half a decade or more goes away and you're like, oh, okay, now I love this stuff and I make it all the time.
Yeah.
It's, I think the how people get into leathercraft is the most fascinating. I think I personally I got into it from sneakers, but I also use it as a de-stressor like yourself. I I do find it kind of almost mind like not mind numbing in a bad way, but you can kind of just zone out. Like there's like this
It's
ability where you can,
therapeutic.
yeah, like you don't like you don't think about anything. You kind of just you're in your own little kind of world, which is kind of cool. And I don't know if it's like that for everybody. I'm sure some people find it very stressful.
Yeah, I think when I started, and I think that's an important thing to bring up actually, because, and I'm sure you'll ask me about this later, but I think the more you do it, the less you have to think. It's like when you're learning to ride a bike, you have to learn how to hold the handlebars and you have to learn how to pedal. And then when you've been doing it for 30 years, you don't have to think about those things anymore. And I think it's the same with leather, that you first of all have to learn how to hold a knife, then you have to learn how to not scratch a leather when you put your ruler down on it, and you have to learn all of these different techniques.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think I thought a lot more at the beginning, but the funny thing is that there's still certain aspects of it that I think more during than other aspects. And I don't know if it's
Yeah,
the same for everybody. When I'm cutting leather, I get slightly more stressed than if I'm doing 98% of the other things. Once I already have my pieces cut out, I don't actually I go into autopilot type thing.
cutting is not the stressful part for me.
Really, what's the thing that gets you on
No,
your side?
no, cutting is not the stressful part for me. I've kind of come to terms with the fact that I will probably either cut the wrong way or myself at some point. For me, the stressful part is pricking holes for stitching.
I could see that because you always run the risk of having that one rogue hole at the end. It's usually the last one before you move on to the next one, and it's like, oh, it's slightly higher or slightly lower, and you tend to work with a lot more. It seems like it's more of a goat skin, calf skin, much softer leathers than a traditional veg tan
Yeah,
that
I
you could work off of.
very, 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 very. I do have veg tan in stock at the moment. I have a lot of leather in stock at the moment because I'm working on a lot of commissions currently. But probably 2 or 3% of it's veg tan. Everything else is goat, calf, shell cordovan. I've got quite a few exotic skins in at the moment, so I'm looking that way because my leather's down there.
Hey, no,
Um,
we're all guilty of that. We all look at the leather when we're talking about it.
yeah, but it's not as much the last pricking hole for me. It's if I'm not paying absolute attention, I will do this thing where I double prick the hole
Yeah.
and then I have to restart the panel.
The hardest thing for me, especially, so I think it's twofold. Sometimes it's keeping it perfectly like upright
Hmm.
that you can not angle it funny because if you angle it funny, as you know, the hole never really sits right. It always, even if it's straight in the line, the angle, it always seems to sit wrong, even if it's not off. But the other thing is soft leathers I find incredibly hard because you can't. I do the old school. I drag the line down, with your wing dividers, and that's usually how I can keep my my line.
Hmm.
But I find that to be so much more difficult on the soft leathers. Now, how do you go about keeping the straight line on those soft, often pebbled leathers?
So, veg tan, I don't, the people listening to this may or may not work with it, I don't know. But veg tan marks basically immediately when you put any pressure into it. Chrome tan, and almost everything I work with now is chrome tan or retanned. The line fades. So
Yeah, which
I
is
will,
nice.
Yeah, it's nice in the way that if you mark it accidentally, it doesn't show. But it also means you have to find other methods of marking it when you actually need to mark it.
Yep.
Because, and so one of the nice things about the leather I work with, it creases beautifully. So I actually, for my videos, and I'm sure we'll talk about my YouTube channel in a bit. I don't know what your questions are, but for my videos, I do use a wing divider just because it gives a visual representation of what I'm doing. When I'm working on pieces off camera, I go by the crease line instead of by a wing divider because the crease line, the way to mark chrome tan leather is with heat.
Oh, so I have seen a lot of people that do that route where they go and they go along the side and then they put the pricking iron just below the line
Mm-hmm.
and they follow that across. And I have the, you know, the heating tips and I use it from time to time. My biggest struggle is I don't use the same leather enough to really get the machine exactly where I want it, and I
Mm-hmm.
never get the right heat to line. It just never seems to look just right. Now I use it
Sure.
from time to time, and to be honest, I use it a lot more on my edges than anything else. Do you have what machine do you have? Do you have the Regad?
I have two.
Oh, look
Um,
fancy! Look at
I'm
you.
fortunate enough that I have two. One of which was bought for me by actually my parents for a birthday. I think I'd been doing leather for maybe 2 years at the time.
Well, shout out to mom and dad if they listen.
Absolutely. Shout
Who
out to mum
knows?
and dad.
But they sound like lovely people.
So I was having classes at the time. I think I'd been doing it for about a year, come to think of it. And I had just started classes with, so I'm 90% self-taught, but the 10% that I'm not self-taught is by a woman who used to work for a mez.
Oh, very
And
nice.
she recommended the regad, and I couldn't really do the classes with her without it. So they bought me a regad and one tip, the FN02, FN03, sorry, which is what I use for my edges for my creasing line. And I now also am the proud owner of the Junlin leather one. I don't know if you've heard of Junlin.
Yeah, I think I have something of his. I there's
Probably his skiving
honestly
knife.
there's so many companies that have popped up, left, new one. It seems like they show up monthly at this point. I can't keep
Yeah,
up.
so he sent me over one, and if he's listening, I do have to personally thank him for that. He sent it over to me as a gift for my channel. So he sent me over the machine, the creasing handle, and a couple of tips, and it works really really well. The difference between it and the regad is the regad has a sort of analog knob, and it's
I,
1 to 10.
I like that. I have mine has
Yeah.
the analog, no, and there's something about the control, but it's a gift and a curse. You have, I feel as though you have so much control, but at the
Oh, this
same
one's got
time,
more. That one, the your regards 1 to 10. The Jinlin leather one's 1 to 100.
oh, that's stressful. Yeah, I don't want that much. That's just stress. That inherently stresses me out. It's too much.
It's very, very, very accurate.
But, I do find that's a machine. And the good thing is you buy it once and you have it. And the hard
Unless it
part about
breaks.
yeah, but the hard part is actually the one that I have, they no longer support because they went to smaller tips, which I understand, but as a person who purchased it annoys me because I don't know if there is still a companion adapter for it. So I'll probably have to find a machinist that could make it.
Yeah.
Um,
But which
which
one do you have?
I have one from Rocky Mountain, which I'm sure is just a. I mean, most of them are probably just white labeled.
Yeah, that's
I
exactly what
mean,
they
they're
are.
all just white labeled of some, probably the Regad, somewhere along the way.
Yeah,
It's kind of like how almost all sewing machines are variations of Juki and Singers, and they're all old machines, just kind of changed. But
yeah.
I have that one, and they went to smaller tips, so I think I would have to get adapters for them if I want to get
Mm.
new tips, because they don't even sell the old tips anymore, which is a little frustrating. That's why if anybody was to ask, I'd probably tell them to go with a Regad, because I feel as though they've had the same machine for God knows how long.
Yeah, the thing I enjoy my regard, and it heats up very very quickly. The thing I prefer about the German leather one is the handle.
Yeah, I guess you could probably fine tune the handle. I mean, I that's probably the easiest thing to.
The machine itself, the regard box, is very very nice.
I just like that there's the consistency of it always being there. When I buy something, especially something that's a little bit more expensive, I like to know that they're not going to change it.
Mm.
That I could call up and get a piece replaced, or I could call. And those are the things that I enjoy. You know, we already clearly got off to a strong start talking about God knows what. It's fun. It's fun. I always sort of have an idea of where conversations will go with people, and then we kind of just we end up talking about creases. So you, I, I am very similar to you, that I'm very self-taught, but I did take some courses.
Mm-hmm.
I took the one with Phil Jury,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which I applaud his commitment to education. He's never really wavered over the years. He's kind of stuck with it. Um, so I never fault anybody for just staying with it. It's kind of been his one thing that he wants to do.
He's
Um,
very his he's found a very interesting sort of line between fine leatherwork and British leatherwork.
yeah, and it's kind of nice because people that want to learn multiple facets. Now, I probably side closer to your line of leatherwork. I prefer the fine leatherwork.
Me too.
But the problem I often find is not only that it's more time consuming, but it's vastly more expensive. And that's where I often struggle, because the leather has, at least in the United States, I don't know what it's like, out where you are, but I mean, just a basic hide, nothing fancy, will starts out at like $300.
I pay more
You know,
than that.
but that's like just a basic veg tan, nothing fancy, like
Yeah.
Wicked and Craig or something,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
nothing fancy. And I don't even look at some of the UK ones, because some of those are $500-600 a hide. They're just,
Mhm.
it's so, and well, most of those aren't in hides. They're usually in a like a double or something like that, or a single bend. But like, do you find that the price is a little bit more limiting when you look at fine luxury goods because of the leather you have to use, or is there any aspects of it that you find are limiting compared to doing other leather craft?
So my work is not expensive because of the stuff I use. The stuff I use is obviously a factor in the price. The leather I'm using quite a lot at the moment is Nova Napa by Tannery Haas, and it is very very expensive.
It's a beautiful
Um,
leather.
it is. It's one of my two. I have two favorite calf skins. One of them is Nova Napa, and the other one is by Remy Carrier. Both of which are priced accordingly. But what I have found is that you do get what you pay for in
Yeah.
leather. And if you buy something that is either a B or a C grade, or you buy something that is from a tannery that doesn't do it as well, is the quality of the leather is not as good.
Yeah.
And the stuff I make is, if you only looked at it based on the cost of the leather itself, it would not cost what it does. My pieces are expensive because what I do is very, very difficult.
I guess I probably didn't frame it in the way I guess I was thinking. And my thought process, for the finished product, it's not expensive. But the practice and skill of working with the certain things to enhance your skill set,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very expensive learning curve because you can practice with and build things with other leathers, but it's hard to go from building veg tan bags
Mm-hmm.
to goat skin or calf skin bags to or just basic chrome tan.
Sure.
I think practicing with the specific medium changes the outcome in the way you approach it. And from a just a strictly training and enhancing your craft perspective, it is limiting. At least it feels like that.
No, it does, and you have to be invested because from a training perspective, the fine leather goods leather is it's expensive. It is very, very expensive. Like, you can easily go to the local. There are still a few leather merchants in the UK. There aren't many, but there's a couple. I don't know, weavers or something. If you're in the US, you could easily go and buy an untanned hide for a couple of $100. That's
Yeah.
very easily done. But I would put money on you not being able to take that and make it into something fine, to use that word.
Yeah, and it doesn't translate. You can, and it's funny when I see people stitch and they use something like shell cordovan, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and it cuts beautifully, it edge burnishes beautifully, it stitches so beautifully
Yeah,
sometimes.
it does.
Depending, sometimes you can have bad luck with it, but
Depending
for the
on who
most
it
part,
is, but yeah.
yeah, it's a beautiful, and to me, it's an easier leather to work with compared to your cheaper lower end leathers.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily translate going from the cheap leather to the expensive leather. I think that there is a difficulty of working with the other stuff to learn, and then you move over and you go, wow, this is so different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any experience with this. This is hard.
Shell cordovan's an interesting one. Shell cordovan's a really interesting one to bring up, actually, because it's not technically leather in the same way that other skins are. Like, basically every leather apart from shell cordovan, as you yourself will know, is literally the skin of the animal. But shell cordovan isn't. Shell cordovan is the membrane, the subcutaneous membrane above the rump, and it is ridiculously tough. It's designed as a shoe leather. It was originally designed to make shoes out of, and as such is really, really, really hard. I don't actually like working with it all that much. It looks beautiful, it stitches beautifully. The problem is that it, because of how tough the exterior surface of it is, you can't do much fine work with it. Even if you get it very thin, it's it's not very pliable.
It is. I couldn't agree with you more in the sense that it, to me, based on all the leathers I've ever worked with, is the densest leather.
Oh god, yeah,
It just feels solid all the way through.
absolutely.
And it's got a heft to it. It's
Mhm.
heavy. And it's a beautiful, beautiful leather because you can sheen that and finish it. And those types of leathers, I tend to stick with the companies that have done leather cleaning products forever. I tend to
Do you?
buy I think it's a French.
Saphir.
Yeah. So for that one, I tend to, and Saphir, if anybody's listening there, I will gladly take a sponsorship
Oh, so
because
would I.
yeah. So if you want to send either of us a care package of love, we would love you
Happily.
dearly. Um, because there is at least a dozen of their products I haven't tried that I'd love to,
Hmm.
but they're pricey. Now you do get what you pay for. They are premium products. I use it on my dress shoes, and they make them look
And
like
that's the point.
showstoppers.
And
They look like showstoppers with
that's
their
the
product.
point. Is that you use it on your shoes. You don't use it on a bag.
Now you wouldn't use Saphir, exotic products for your leather. So it's funny in my mind, certain ones I wouldn't even think to use other cleaning solutions. I would think to use a specific shell cordovan one from Saphir
Hmm.
versus what would be the rationale as to why you wouldn't use that versus another one? Like what would you use on a shell cordovan versus, like a Saphir, very specific shell cordovan
Oh no,
cleaner?
my point wasn't that I wouldn't use it on Joe Cordovan. My point is that I think we use Joe Cordovan too much.
Which is funny because of how expensive it is. I mean, essentially, it's what about $100 a square foot,
Something like
maybe
that.
more.
It's
Yeah,
over
I mean,
£100 of skin.
yeah, it is incredibly expensive,
Yeah,
and that's the hardest thing too. Is you'd love to practice with certain ones, and there is no ability to do so unless you're willing to invest substantial money. Same with exotics. I have a skin that I've had for years
you can send it to me.
that I am terrified to cut into. I've talked about it many times, but at a certain point, it doesn't do me any good just sitting there. It's
No,
like I need to just cut it, but you figure at $400 to $500 a square foot, that is a big mistake if you make it.
so exotics are not priced per square foot. Exotics are priced per square
Yeah, the
centimeter.
width. I was just kind of,
Yeah. No, I
using
get what
if
you're
you would,
saying, and that's
yeah,
that's
at
that's
the
your point.
belly, yeah. If you were to just take a square foot usable area, it'd probably be like $400 to $500. The prime real
I'm
estate.
Yeah. I mean, give me 1 second. I made that the other day.
Oh, I think I saw you posted that. That's beautiful. I love
Yeah,
that. Is that out of a croc skin?
yeah.
It's beautiful. Now, what'd you use? Did you use a very thin goat skin in the middle?
That's exactly what I used.
Yeah, you can tell it looks very nice. Now, the funny thing is for something like that,
Hmm.
I guess I have multiple questions. First is I'm assuming you have to hand skive to thin out the croc skin, right? You don't use a skiving machine.
So I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Ooh, tell me more. Tell me more. How do you? Now that must be the most terrifying thing to put through a skiving machine.
Oh, it is.
I can't imagine anything more terrifying than
It's
putting
heart
a
rate
croc
inducing.
skin because you know that one little. It's like then he just eats it, and you're like, oh
Oh
no, did
no,
I just?
it did, and I had to do some very fancy things to that to recover it.
Oh,
Um,
how stressed out were you when it started to eat it?
so I've got the Druku hand splitter, little
Oh,
mini
yeah.
tabletop one, and I spent about an hour toing and froing between with myself whether or not I was actually going to do it, because the skin came at 1.4 mil, 1.6 mil,
Oh,
which,
wow.
if you
So
said
that,
by itself, would you think was a thin leather.
yeah.
I needed it 1 mil.
Oof, yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, am I going to put this through, or am I going to ship it to a splitter? Because putting that through a mechanical splitter would be absolutely fine. Like a fully industrial splitter would be absolutely fine. But that's for a video that's coming out in the next. Actually, I don't know when it's going to go up, but it's recorded and edited. But I don't know when it's going up. And I was just like, I don't have time to send this off. I
Yeah.
don't have time to ship it off, wait for them to split it, and ship it back, because it's over a week.
Yeah,
It's
that's
about a
hard.
week and a half to get it back. And I was
You
like,
never hand skive it? You don't use like a hand skiver, like just the tool?
oh, you mean like a French beveler?
Yeah.
Oh God, no! I'd never go near them.
What about a
I hate them. I hate them with a passion.
no, not a French beveler, the like a skiving knife.
You mean just like a simple scabbing knife?
Yeah.
You don't get the consistency.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I would have never I guess it depends on I've been talking about this for a while. Is I've been in need of a good. I'm actually trying to find a blacksmith to come on and talk because I actually want to know more about those knives. But I feel like a
Mhm.
good, consistent knife with a nice surface. I would love to get even cuts. Now I have a bell skiver, so I don't necessarily need it. But there's certain things that you can get to with a skiving knife that
I
you
wouldn't
can't
even
get to with.
run that through a bow scabber. You could, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, that would stress me out. I seen somebody do that once, and I nearly had a heart attack. I didn't even watch the video. I don't want to know what happened because that would just
Yeah.
stress me out.
I've done it. The trick with running exotics through a bow skiver is having your presser foot like it has to be completely parallel all the way across to the point where it's identical distance from the blade. Because if there's anywhere where it's closer, you'll immediately score the leather.
Yeah, that would I wouldn't even try. That would stress me out to no end. And it's funny that like you do YouTube and
Hmm.
I have watched copious amounts of leather stuff over the years and the algorithms never brought us together. I didn't even know you had a YouTube
Did you
channel.
not?
I had absolutely no idea. And I
I
feel like
am
I've typed in
disappointed.
leathercraft. I have typed in leathercraft into YouTube so many times and the algorithm just didn't want us to be together. Now that I know it exists, I'll go back and watch stuff just to
Yeah, no,
support
my
you.
channel is not tiny either.
Yeah, which is funny, but it never brought us together. So
Wow,
I just found out about you from other people who listened, and I was like, oh, all right.
didn't
You
even know
know,
it existed.
I didn't even know you exist. And the funny thing is, you probably didn't know. The world is so big. It's kind of it's entertaining, but I do like how there's so much more information available to people now to disseminate so that they can learn the craft.
Hmm.
Even from when I started and you started, I feel as though it's
When
changed
did you
quite a bit.
start?
I'm working with leather for probably about 10, 12 years, but
Oh, look at that! Wow.
I
Okay.
started in sneakers. So I
Hmm.
used to do custom footwear and I always wanted to get into leather. But for me, it was with the goal of hopefully doing footwear one day.
Hmm.
So, but then I got the bug and now I just love making things. So you know how that goes. It starts with one thing. But yeah, I did a lot with painting and doing footwear that way. So, which I do from time to time. I do it more for repairs.
Hmm.
Uh,
I've never
but I
gone
find
down
it,
the shoe route.
the funny thing is shoes, the leather they use is so different. And most of the finishes on footwear is proprietary. So
Hmm.
you wouldn't even be able to get leather like that because what Nike and New Balance
Oh
and
God, yeah, it's all like
Adidas,
very
what they all
in-house and
use,
yeah.
it's all so proprietary and tough that you shouldn't be able to take a shoe and drag it on concrete and not have it should immediately scuff.
I
And
mean, that's not
sometimes
really
it
leather at
doesn't.
that point, is it?
Yeah, you start to wonder what is this? And a lot of times, I've cut up a lot of shoes over the years. It couldn't be bluer in the middle, which means it's the chrome of chrome tan that you can get. And the margins are astronomical on footwear at
Of course
the
they are.
scales they're doing. So I don't think I think it's the cheapest you can get. So it's a very different world, but it was interesting to go from there into the more fine leather goods, you
Yeah,
know?
my brand is not about scale at all.
Yeah. Which I like. That's what I It's funny. I gave myself, when I first started doing it, I gave myself a timeline of when I would start my own business. I gave
Hmm.
myself like a 5-year timeline. I was like, but I want to learn a lot of things first. And that's kind of what got me into the podcast more so, is I just like learning as much as the general audience does. I think there's something, you'd be surprised how much you learn from each person, not only based on their skill sets, but based on their geographic location and the
Hmm.
industry they work in. Each person brings a little bit something different to the craft, which I personally think is one of the coolest aspects of it. But, you know, one thing I actually did want to ask you was, there is, what I bet you a lot of people don't understand is the intricacy that goes into luxury and fine leather goods to get things to look the way they do. Now, for
Hmm.
instance, I saw you were working on a bag recently, which was beautiful, by the way. You did a terrific job on that. Um, you People don't often realize the things that go into, from the stiffeners to
Oh
the
God, yeah.
structure to all the things that go into making a bag look like a bag. What did you can use that bag if you want as an example, or another
Which
bag.
one are you talking about?
I think
I
you
make a lot
posted
of
it.
bags.
It was recently. I want to say it was like,
Was it the blue one?
yeah, it had a matching wallet, and
Yeah,
it looked
yeah,
very much, very Hermes
yeah,
esque.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I know the one you mean.
yeah, which, don't let my I say this all the time. Don't let my wife see any of these. I'm glad
I
she
mean, you're
doesn't listen.
welcome to share my page with her.
Yeah, no, I don't let her. The good thing is she doesn't listen, so I don't ever have to worry about her seeing any of the things. But going into a bag like that, what
Yeah,
are some of the things you have learned over the years, and some of the things you approach differently? Because bags will sag. There's so much more that the average person doesn't understand that I'm fascinated with,
sure,
that goes into luxury, high end luxury bags, the Hermes and those types of things.
sure. So it's good that people don't really see what's inside them because the exterior leather and the lining leather are probably 10% of what's on a luxury leather bag.
Yeah.
The amount of architecture inside it is absolutely bonkers. Like if you just had the pattern of the exterior and the pattern of the lining and glued them together, you'd be done in 20 minutes. It took me 2.5 weeks to make that blue one. The amount of everything has to be reinforced. Everything has to be, but it's not just reinforced flat. You have to learn how to glue things on curves. You have to learn how to put spring bars in so that handles can pick stuff up without creating dimples. There's 3 layers of reinforcement on the base just to keep it flat.
People don't take into account the sagging and the things that, if you were just to make a bag,
Hmm.
what it would actually look like
Oh, it will
versus.
collapse in a week.
And the funny thing is it's not, it's that, but the reinforcement at the handles,
Hmm.
and the reinforcements are the one aspect that I continuously learn with everybody I talk to, and I learn something new every time. I
Hmm.
think that is one of the most under talked about areas
Oh, it
that
is.
I find fascinating. What have you learned about reinforcements in your experience doing it? Because I find it is, nobody really talks about it, and it is expansive.
Yeah, so reinforcement is a gigantic topic. It is an absolutely enormous topic because there's not just a reinforcement. It's not just you putting a reinforcement into a bag. It's such a massive topic. Um, the when people say reinforcement, they typically think of something like bonded leather, which is a combination of latex and leather dust. Basically, if you boil it down, bonded leather is when leather is tanned, it is very very thick. It's the thickness of a tooling leather, and then they shave the bottom of it off, and they fill bags with leather fiber, leather dust essentially, and then they'll sell it to a manufacturer like Salpa or someone similar, who will heavily compress it with a mixture of latex adhesive. So I buy mine in at either 0.6 or 0.8 mil. Don't really go anything thicker than that. And it's interesting that you've asked me this, because on almost every video I get, almost every video I do, I get people asking me why split a 1.8 mil leather down to 1.2 to then put a 0.6 mil backing on it just to get it back to the thickness it was. Like, what's the
They'll never understand it's the nuance about it.
yeah, like, what's the point? It's like, well, because a 0.8 mil leather does not behave like a 0.2 mil leather with a 1.2 mil leather does not behave the same way as a 1.6 mil leather. It just doesn't. Like, if you laminate, if you took Nova Nappa, for instance, because it's one I'm very familiar with, and you had a 1.6 mil Nova Nappa, and you held it next to a 1.6 mil appeared to be Nova Nappa, but it was 1.2 with a 0.6 mil bonded leather behind it. The characteristics are entirely different. The reason one of the reasons is the characteristics, but also because let's say you want a bag that ages with you. You want to buy your wife a bag, a handmade bag that ages with her as she inevitably matures through life. But she wants it to look like it's aging, but she doesn't want it to collapse. She doesn't want it to get saggy, to get crumpled up. She wants it to maintain its form. If you just had a veg tan leather bag made the same thickness, but just veg tan by itself, 6 months after making it, it would be a sack. It would not be the same bag as one that's got structure behind it. If you gave her a bag like the ones that I make, that have almost like the lining leather I use is 1 millimeter thick, and if someone listening to this thinks, oh my god, that's incredibly thin, it is incredibly thin, but that's because you don't need really, really thick leather. If you're then building up the back of it with reinforcement and you're creating a shape, because you cannot, well, you can wet mold leather, but you can't create a shape with leather and have it stay that shape without a reinforcement behind it.
Yeah, and I think that also lends itself to the point that fine luxury is supposed to be repairable.
Oh,
That
thank
if
God
you
for
need
saying
to,
that.
like
Yeah,
that
like,
is fine leathercraft and luxury should be. Now that we're probably going to hit this off way after the episode because I am obsessed with the nuances of fine luxury made goods.
so the founder of Hermes, Thierry Hermes, I think his name was. I'm probably pronouncing that completely wrong, but that's what his name was. He defined leather as what he defined luxury as what can be repaired. Because
Yeah.
if I make a bag, say the one I just made, that one,
Yeah. That's
when
beautiful.
it will inevitably need repairing.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about it is that you can repair it. If
Yeah.
I had a bag that had been completely my biggest bugbear is people gluing too much stuff together. It's my biggest bugbear in leather. They think that you have to slather glue everywhere for it to hold together. There's no more than about 10 mil of glue in that entire thing.
It drives me nuts when I see not only is some of the barge
Oh
stuff
my god,
wildly toxic and awful for your health,
it's
it
unnecessary.
makes it so much more difficult to repair when you take their cement and you glob it on there,
Hmm.
that's never coming apart.
No,
You're
you
never
need
it's gonna
thinner to get
ruin
it
the
apart.
entire thing. You just might as well throw it away because there's no repairing that. And that I think
And you should
is,
be able to repair it. If you have loved your bag for 20 years, if you've taken your handbag to work for 20 years and then you retire, you should be able to repair it. Like
yeah.
like that thing has seen the birth of your child. You should be able to repair your bag.
And if you take care of it, if you take care of any leather good, it'll usually, depending on the leather you buy, will take care of you.
Yeah.
As long as you I look at old baseball gloves. Somebody
Hmm.
will have something that's 100 years old or
Oh,
75
absolutely.
years old, and yet it's still going strong and you can still play catch in it. I'm like, that is the definition of like, if you take care of something, it will
Well,
last you forever.
and by taking care of it, like that's not just keep wiping dust off it. Taking care of leather requires hydration and moisturization. Like it's skin at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And when it gets a little dry, which it will, because those oils and those tannins come out, you have to replenish them. And if you do replenish them when it's needed and not too late, it will completely revitalize the piece that you're loving each day.
And that's another thing that is like wildly more complicated than it needs to. There's 45,000 different options to take care of your leather, and it's so complicated for the average person. When they get into it, they're just like, what
Doesn't need
is
to
all?
be.
It does not need to be that complicated. It is needlessly complicated with the amount of options that are out there
Hmm.
that I tend to stay away from 90% of them. But you know while we were talking about that, one, the bonded leather, I find so interesting that when you put that inside of something, which I have in the past,
Hmm.
I find that incredibly difficult to stitch through. And I don't
I never
know,
stitch through it.
you never actually
Oh
stitch
no,
through
that's
it.
not true. I do occasionally stitch through it, but not in the way that you're thinking about.
I also find it a little more difficult to get. Now, since I switched over to Giardini, I haven't had the issue, but if I have it run flush to the end that I'm going to be painting over, Giardini, I haven't had that issue, but others, I have had adhesion problems on just that part, or it doesn't seem to sit, even if I cut it flush right down the middle and
Hmm.
everything is flat.
It's not the adhesion; it's the absorption.
Yeah, it just doesn't, it never looks just right. And, sometimes I'll be like, well, maybe I'll cut it 3 mil shorter and then or 5 mil shorter, and then I'll have like a
Hmm.
little raised edge or something like that that I'll stitch and finish. And I find that that is a very unforgiving material
It
I'm using.
is. I don't use Giardini personally.
I've
I
I've went around to a lot of places and I landed on them after spending way too much money on everybody else's. Now
Yeah.
people like a lot of different kinds. Like don't get me wrong, like they they all have preferences and I think it's a usage. Now what do you use? What is
I use
your
Unitas.
Uniters? Okay. Now that is the theory is there's variations of that one that is used by like fashion houses or proprietary variations.
Yeah, so I know for a fact what they use. Um, it's
I
you
found it
can't.
once.
Yeah,
It's
you can't
online.
buy it. It's
Yeah.
not the stuff
Oh
that. So
no,
this.
somebody said what it was. Like
Yes,
they
yeah, yeah.
went.
So
It was on like a forum. They found it. I went on a deep
yeah,
dive.
so the edge paint that Hermes uses is not available through the general public. You can't buy it.
Yeah, it's
It
proprietary.
it's the closest thing to it is Unitas. It's basically they've taken Unitas and they've mixed it very slightly differently, essentially.
Yeah.
I use it. I tried Giardini when I started. I didn't like it. I didn't like how rubbery it was. And then I moved on to Unitas, and I've not changed. I find it so I don't paint over. Oh, that's not true. I very 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 rarely paint over bonded leather. I like to get the one of the principles of fine leather work is you get the edges quite thin, not as thin as physically possible, but quite thin. You could get them thinner, but you just sort of get rid of the structure at that point. Um, so I normally finish my bonded leather about 4 mil from the edge.
Makes sense because it's very unforgiving. And it's funny you mentioned the plasticky feel. I wonder. Now, I actually use it. I use a finishing component. A lot of times, I'll use the extra matte finish,
Mm-hmm.
which almost changes the entire feel of the paint. I don't know how they do it, and I don't understand the stuff behind it. But I have a Louis Vuitton wallet, and I put it next to that one with the very matte finish, and it looked very similar. Now, I don't know if every company uses something different, and I think Uniters is one that a lot of the fashion houses use,
Yeah, it is.
but um, I found that to be very similar for that particular application where I think they've added more finishing things.
Mm-hmm.
I can sort of see your point at the beginning, but for me, it was the adhesion, the base layer is the reason that sold me. It was not the paint itself, it was their adhesion promoter, the base layer that you put on,
Mm-hmm.
that I felt gave the most uniform finish.
So there is a way around that. So I've recently discovered, and it was only a couple of months ago, I discovered a product called Uniter's Edge Sealer.
Okay. Edge sealer. So so essentially it's the same thing as kind of a what Giardini was doing. It goes over the
Yeah,
top and then you paint over that.
so it goes over the leather. It goes between the
Yeah.
leather and the glue,
Okay.
and the paint. Sorry, and so one of the biggest problems people have is they seem to think that the gap down the middle of the leather is because they in the sort of between the two layers they believe a common misconception is that is because there's a dip. It's not
Yeah.
a dip. It's absorption. It's being the gap between the layers that where they join together is the change in absorption. So what the Uniter's Edge Sealer is designed to do, and I'm not sponsored by them. Before anyone asks, that's not why I'm talking about them. I'd love to be.
No.
Um,
In
if
full
they're listening,
disclosure, Giardini has given me paint in the past, but it's mainly because I like them.
yeah,
They're one of the
I,
few sponsors I actually kept. I didn't re-up with almost anybody.
no, I am sponsored by Leatherbox, but I'm not sponsored by United, not directly. Um, so that I have to say that. But the edge sealer makes life so much harder because don't get me wrong, I do enjoy working with shell cordovan occasionally. I really really like it for watch straps because it's really hard wearing. I don't know if you've ever tried it personally, but painting the edges of shell cordovan is really 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 hard.
I don't think I ever tried to paint it.
Yeah, it's really hard because of how dense it is. It doesn't stick.
Yeah, I could see that.
So I tried to use some edge sealer on it, the United Edge Sealer. It's a game changer. It's so sticky.
So I wonder. I'm sure no one company like invented it, but I feel like that was the game changer for me with Giardini as like the gap filler.
Hmm.
That was the reason why I
It's
thought I was
essentially
like,
the same thing, I think.
yeah, made it so that it absorbed, and you could do one or two coats, and it was sandable, so you could really get it pristine. Then you put a couple coats, And you could do lighter coats too, which I really liked. You could do light coats, let it dry, light coat,
Hmm.
and it really gave it a unique, clean look.
It's interesting
Which,
how different people find enjoyment in different products, isn't it? Because
yeah,
if you gave me a liter of Giardini tomorrow, I'd give it back to you. But
yeah,
some
and
people,
I wonder if it's how we. I think it has to do with the products you make,
hmm,
the background you come from, and how you use them in particular. It's the same way where I still use Angela's paint if I'm painting leather. I won't use anything else because I came from footwear and that's the gold standard. Their stuff,
I've never heard of it. I don't paint leather.
they I have an air sprayer too, and the unique thing is that you can take a piece of natural veg tan and make it any color you want. And you can get beautiful light coats over the top where you
Hmm.
wouldn't know that it wasn't done by a tannery because it with the air sprayer it's just light, kind of
Okay,
like fluffy
probably
coats
the
over the
same way
top.
that the tanneries actually do it.
Yeah, they probably just do it on a much larger scale where they're
Yeah,
painting it, and then actually I think that is how they do it, and then it probably dries it. There's
yeah.
probably machines that do it. uh, but it's very uniform. If you're going to hand paint it, it's different. But with a sprayer, there is a lot of uniformity to it, and also there's a lot of skill to it. Like it's you have to do a lot of painting. It's tough. um,
I
but
buy
yeah,
my
it is
stuff
interesting.
pre-tanned. I don't paint any. I don't dye or paint anything I make. I everything I make, every product I make is from pre-dyed and tanned.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of mixing for edges because I love the uniformity of it.
Hmm.
So I can have virtually any color leather,
Hmm.
and I can find a way to make the edges match.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Mainly just because I've been mixing paints for so long that it's kind of like second nature. Like you're just used to doing it.
yeah.
But you're right. It is interesting that each person has a different product that they like and use, and it is funny. It's interesting how it all kind of works out. But you know, speaking of like the products and the way that we use things, was there one tool or thing that when you kind of started using it, you felt as though that kind of moved the needle for you? That
Yeah.
was like something where you were like, okay, like this feels different. This makes my items have a different appeal.
My all.
So you like a good all. Well, you don't prick all the way through, do you? You go the old fashioned route.
So I depends on what I'm doing.
That stresses me out. So God bless you. I could never do that. That stresses me out to no end. Having to make it because every stitch I'd be nervous. I'm gonna like not. I need the hole already there. I'm bless your
So it
soul.
depends what I'm doing. If I'm making, and there's no sort of rule of thumb for it either. If For most of the small leather goods I make, I will. So if there's like the exterior paneling in the back of pocket, card pockets or whatever, I will prick those individually. I won't punch all the way through. So I'll prick both sides, glue them together, and then you've got the X, and you have to sort of poke your way through the X. Because I absolutely hate having an uneven stitch line. I think it ruins the piece. When I'm doing something like a bag and I've got the thing about a good awl is you can manipulate it in so many ways. You can manipulate the different layers of leather, you can pull it in different ways. So if you're trying to put a gusset on, and you want the gusset to have a really severe scoop to it, you can put it on and then you can stitch it at one angle, pull it round, stitch it another,
Yep.
push it all in at another angle, pull it tight, and then it will shape the gusset for you. So a good awl is a absolute must.
You know what's funny? I when I first started, I bought these cheapo ones, probably on Amazon, and they're not good alls by themselves. Like they're not fancy, they were cheap. But with a little bit of TLC and, belt sander or,
You shouldn't
anything
have to
like
do
that.
that.
But I got it to the exact point that I wanted that's like perfect. And it works for me. So it's
Mm.
very, very customized in the sense that it fits exactly how I like it. Now, is it fancy? No, it's not. But I got one that I really wanted, a long one that was just truly tapered and flat.
Hmm.
And it's like, if I sit there long enough and just kind of work on, I can get it exactly. Now, not everybody has that option available or wants to waste their time doing that. Now, for me, I enjoy doing that. And is it the best steel? No, but it's sharp as can be and goes right through anything I ever use.
So mine is, I haven't touched the blade. I've had it for several years. I can't remember how many years. I've never sharpened it. I occasionally polish it with a Dremel with the sort of
Yeah,
polishing rouge. The only thing I've done to it that isn't stock, how it came from the shop, is I hate round handles. So I've
really
flattened both sides of it
interesting. Why do you hate the round?
because I can never find the I can never find the right angle to push it through.
Interesting. All
So
right.
one side is very slightly concaved, and the other side is flat. So when I
Oh,
put
so
it
you
in
know
my
where to put your finger.
yeah,
Yeah, that's smart.
so every time I put it in my hand, the very very slightly concave part goes in the palm of my hand, and then I know that at that angle is the angle of my pricking iron.
Yeah, no, the handles on mine are cheap and they're garbage and there's nothing nice about them. But for what it was, sometimes you just if you don't use it enough, it's not worth it. I have one that's really sharp and circular and I use it for baseballs
Yeah,
because I can prick it right through and I can do 100 holes really quickly.
yeah.
Um,
I've got a roundel by a Japanese maker,
yeah,
which I use for a lot.
but it's interesting in a sense that you can make a lot of things that you want to. It is
Hmm.
very going back to your like different paints. People have different tools they use, which is kind of a fascinating part of people will use very specific jigs and things like that to make sure that their work is what they want it to be.
Yeah.
And that to me is very fascinating. You know, we talked a little bit about kind of now are you a full-time maker or are you still a paramedic?
So I do work clinically occasionally. In fact, that pain that you hear in the background is exactly that. It is a it's a job I'm going abroad for. I do occasionally work clinically. I am currently doing my master's degree, so I'm
Nice.
not. So my work is as a full time the word maker is very American. Uh, Full time
Craftsman?
in leathercraft, yeah. But it's outside of education when I'm not doing my masters. I am full time in this now, yeah. Which is I never thought would happen. It's a very interesting thing to bring up because some people start and they think, oh, I want to do this full time. What direction do I go to go full time? I never really did that. I kind of started, and then I started making for one person. Then I started. Someone else contacted me and said, "Oh, can." But this was a slow progression over years.
Yeah.
And then I'd say January of this year, so 7 months, I kind of went full time ish.
Yeah.
Um, but I have a waiting list because people are willing to wait, I guess.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That's kind of a a more of a testament to the quality of product you make. I was always treating it as though I would love to be able to do this full time, but I don't even really try to sell most of my goods because at a certain point, I don't want to lose the love of just making things.
Yeah, I do get that.
And I don't need the side hustle enough that I have to try to like keep inventory and make things. I want to still be able to make what I like. And if one day it becomes that I start doing that,
Hmm.
I think I would. I wouldn't mind doing one off bags that go to people that are very kind of unique. I think I would really much enjoy because it would still
That's
give me creative
my
freedom.
sort of business model. I don't have stock of anything. I don't
Yeah,
keep stock of anything.
and I like that. I like that there's a uniqueness to it that you can still make what you want and just sell it when you want to.
Yeah, it is. And every single I don't. I have designs. People message me and they say, "Oh, do you do a bifold wallet?" And yes, I do. I have certain particular patterns that I make, but everything else is bespoke. So that is the item they are getting. But what leather I use, what thread I use, what edge paint, and so on and so forth I use is completely down to them. So it's a base pattern, but it's completely bespoke. Everything I make is.
Do you make all the patterns by yourself?
No. So I design them all.
Yeah.
I work with someone that turns my vision of the item into a usable pattern because I have certain skills and making patterns is not one of them. So
I
I
think
will.
that verbiage has been used more than once on this episode, on this podcast, because I am exactly like you.
Yeah. So I have an image of what I want to make. I will sit down with my pattern maker and we'll discuss the design of it, we'll discuss the functionality of it. And then he will email me at 3 o'clock in the morning when he's had an idea, and I will message him back at 5 when I've woken up, and we'll bounce ideas back for weeks or months until the pattern's right. And then I will make it available to I will make multiple of them because the first one of a thing is never perfect.
Yeah.
And I will not make it available until it is perfect because the first one you're practicing, you're figuring out what the design is, you're figuring out what the pattern is. And you need certain skills. You need to be a designer. You need to be a graphical designer to make a pattern, and I am not one of those.
Yeah, I am the exact same. I can visualize it in my head,
Yeah.
but I can't put it into Illustrator the way that others can. And that is a very unique skill set. And I wish I had that skill set, but I don't. And I know that there's a lot out there that can do that. And I hope that one day there is a software developed that does make it easier to make patterns for people who don't
AI
necessarily
will
have.
be there someday.
Yeah. I look forward to that because then I will be able to take some of the things that are in my head and actually make them because I have so many, or just there's a lot of patterns out there that I'd love to put my own twist on,
Hmm.
you know, or just, the thing that I always have the biggest issues. I actually went to a print shop recently because I'm working on a duffel bag,
Hmm.
and it's hard to find things that will print on home printers. You almost always have to go to a print shop for larger patterns or anything that's a bag or bigger, a purse or bigger. They typically don't fit on a traditional 8.5 by 11.
I don't know what an 8.5 by 11 is.
That's what they call letter size in the United States. But
Oh, so it's like A4 or something.
yeah, it's slightly smaller than A4.
Okay.
Yeah, we have our own
Yeah, everything.
dimension.
You have your own
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah, we never wanted to get into the metric system, which I find incredibly easy. But at this
It's
point,
because it is logical.
I think they're so far gone that changing it would just confuse too many
I
people.
mean, the thing is, America is metric. They just pretend they're not.
Yeah, for basic things, we still use imperial, but for mostly everything else, it's metric. You're right.
Well, it's not even that. Like the universal weight that tells the world what a kilo is. The Americans use the kilo and then they convert it to pounds. So America
Yeah,
is they
it's
just
very
pretend they're
yeah.
not.
We do use, especially in the engineering sector, industrial sector, they use a lot of metric, uh, which does make it easier sometimes. Even for leather, I use metric a lot for a lot of things, but it is interesting. It is difficult to print those things, and it's funny. It cost $15 to get a piece of paper that was black and white, and I was like, "Wow, that is not only expensive." But then, as I printed it out, I realized how much leather it is. Well, I never realized when you look at things that are that large,
Hmm.
you're essentially doubling the amount of leather. So it's almost like it's over a hide to make one duffel bag if you're going to line it with the same stuff.
Yeah,
It gets to be so large that
yeah, they do.
I was like making it. I go, this is incredible. I did not realize you need that much leather to make something so simple.
My the wallet I showed you at the beginning of this evening. I don't know if it's evening for you, but it's evening for me. The wallet that I showed you at the beginning of this episode. You'd never believe that that was half a goat skin.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And it's funny because I cut everything out for the duffel and it's about 5 ounces,
Hmm.
you know, which is, I don't know what that breaks. What's that, 1.8 mil?
I don't know.
Two? It's probably right around two.
Okay,
I think that's what that is.
thick.
And I was like, oh, that's like sort of thick, but I'm like, a lining would add so much more structure to it and make
Hmm.
it different. And the thought of having to print out to use that much extra leather, I was like, I don't know how people do it. It
Well,
seems so crazy to me. Like most duffels must just be mostly leather with a very thin fabric or something inside.
yeah. So that's another reason. Uh, another argument for splitting leather is even going from, let's say you're going from 2 mil down to 1 point.
Yeah.
You don't look well. You lose a tiny little bit of strength, but nothing. It's negligible the amount of strength that you're losing in the real world. If you're trying to ride it across the back of ride it across America on the back of a horse, you might lose a little bit of strength. But in the real world, putting your stuff in to go to France for a long weekend makes no difference. But the difference in weight between 2 mil thick leather and 1.4 mil thick leather, even removing 0.6 mil, is
It's huge.
enormous.
Yeah, I was holding just the leather the other day, the three large pieces of it,
Hmm.
and it was heavy.
It
And I was
is.
just holding that. There was no straps, no nothing. And I was thinking to myself, lining this would be very heavy. And though it's not going to be, you'll probably have to support where the handles go and provide
Mm.
some other things in there. My immediate thought was, I understand why people thin it out and put two, but also from a cost perspective, I also understand why people just put the one piece and you feel the leather on the inside and they create a weekend duffel that way. It is not really a one size fits all
Leather
on
isn't.
larger goods.
Leather isn't. Like, if I tried to make an online duffel with Nova Nappa or any other soft leather, it would not be a duffel bag. It would be a sack. There
Yeah.
is just no way you could do it. It's so soft. Like if you pick up, uh, this is not
It's like a
Nova now.
weekender sack. It's like a
Yeah,
sack if you're going for a weekend. You just throw. It's almost like a duffel bag. You're right.
yeah. Like
Yeah,
that's not Nova Nappa, but it's a similar leather. That's Zermatt, same tannery. I
yeah,
used it for watch straps,
yeah. Which people
and
might not know is that is for people who are hypoallergenic. That is a leather that will not cause breakouts.
it's also a leather that's almost entirely waterproof.
I did not realize that it's almost entirely water. I know people used it for the allergenic piece, but it's because of the waterproof piece too. Wow, talk about a versatile leather.
So it was designed specifically for use in watch straps because of the hypoallergenic features. But if you poured water off it on it, it would bead off. It's almost entirely waterproof
That is fascinating. That
because
is
you're
really cool.
sweating constantly out of your skin.
I would
Well,
have,
most
yeah. I used to wear leather bands, but now I mostly just I only wear my one steel band. But it's funny, I did have the like rash when I used to have. I remember when I had an Apple Watch early on, it would like my skin would like break out from it, and that wasn't leather, but it was like a plastic. And it's interesting
mm,
how those things kind of happen. Um, you know, one thing I always like to ask people, and since every path is slightly different, if you could talk to day one Will getting into leather, what would you tell him? How would you change the path that you took talking to day one Will?
I would tell me to take it easy.
How
Leather is
so?
leather is not something you can. Well, any craft, but I know leather. Leather is not something you can rush. And if you try to rush it, you will fail. I promise you. There are
I would agree.
people that have decades of experience knitting or sewing or whatever it might be, doing something else with their hands, and it's partially transferable. But it's a if you go into it thinking, oh, I'm going to do leather because I'm going to sell some stuff and have a side hustle, you'll rush the steps you need. It's like building a house without any foundations. You have to learn the things. You have to make 600 card holders as a beginner because you need to learn how not to make a card holder.
Yeah.
I promise you, the first thing I made that I thought looked like a card holder wasn't. You have a different image of it in your mind. But these are things that you will develop over time. And it does take time. People learn at different rates, whether it takes you 6 months to learn how to hand skive or whether it takes you 6 years to learn how to hand skive doesn't really matter at the end of the day because when you are ready to take the next steps in whatever next steps that it is that you want to make, they will happen. You
Yeah.
just have to take your time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's what draws so many people to leathercraft is it really is a field that you can learn for a lifetime and never truly master because it is
Oh yeah,
so vast in the amount of skills. And I think it's like that for a lot of trades and hobbies, is that I'm sure people who are woodworkers feel the same way, or blacksmiths. You know, it's some of these skills and crafts you could spend lifetimes and never truly learn it all. It's just so vast. And I think that is one of the coolest facets of this. And I hope somebody who's, new that listens learns to give themselves a little bit of grace,
yeah.
because
Oh, absolutely.
it's not going to be an overnight thing. It's a commitment. It's time.
I
You
get a
don't
lot
go to
of
the major leagues. You don't go to the Premier League right away. You work your way through it. See, I tailored
yeah.
the sports metaphor to where you were. Look at that.
You did, and I
I
appreciate it because
I
if you
I
said something to
started
do
I
with
started with baseball, and I was like, you know what? I really got to tailor it to the Premier League because that's what he
I
needs.
mean, you didn't tailor it all the way because we don't call it Premiere, we call it Premiere.
Oh, that is true. That is funny. You're right. That is how they say. Well, what's your team for anybody listening?
I actually absolutely despise football.
I now
Soccer.
is that allowed out there? Because I feel as
I also don't
though,
like tea very much.
well, I feel as though if you don't like football, do you like F1? Because I feel like that's the second biggest sport out there. That
I
and tennis, I guess, are number two.
absolutely love Formula One.
Okay.
I am not a big tennis fan. Um, not a big. I'll call it soccer because I'm guessing the majority of my channel viewers are from the US. So I'm guessing the majority of your listeners are as well.
I actually have I looked at it once and it was really spread out, which I was
Oh,
really
really?
surprised. Well, because I really do try to get people from all over the world.
Hmm.
So I think the audience is drawn from that because I try to find makers from all different walks of life and parts of the world. So I'm sure the majority still is the United States, but
Hmm.
I think like the other 50% is really spread out
Oh well.
across the world, which honestly I would prefer. I think that's much cooler. I love the uniqueness of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like. I've used to work at a couple of football soccer matches as a um, event medic when I was training. It's not one of those sports I absolutely love. I don't want to sound too polarizing on here, but I don't love football. It's a very Marmite. Do you have Marmite in America?
No, isn't that the it's like a thing you put on toast, right?
Yeah, we have an expression. It's Marmite because you either love it or you hate it. So
It always feels like it's religion out there. It seems as though
yeah, it is.
people when you wake up
There are
on a
churches
Saturday,
with Marmite above it.
yeah, I mean it is we went my first time ever to England last year and it's so different from the United States in that I didn't see a single American sports kit, but everywhere I went, there was somebody wearing something for their football team, and
Oh yeah, I mean,
it was
so
everywhere.
I live 100 meters. I won't tell you which stadium, but I live like 100 meters from a football stadium. So my Saturdays with the window open are very noisy.
I
Or it
can
might be
only
Fridays or Sundays. Can't remember. But one of the days of the week is very loud because of the stadium that's just outside my window.
that is pretty cool. All the more reason to maybe we'll have to catch a game sometime. I'll make
Absolutely.
next time I make my way out to you know the UK, we'll have to make our way to a game. But I really appreciate you hopping on. I think this has been a really fun conversation, and I have a feeling we're going to be chatting luxury goods for a long time to come. But where can people find you so they can keep up with your work and learn more about you?
Absolutely. So this is actually really good timing for me. This our chat because in it's going to probably be a couple of months, but I'm releasing something that has literally taken 2 years to
Love it.
design and develop. It's got hints from all over the place, as all great designs do. It's a bag named after. I don't know if she'll be listening to this, but named after a very close friend of mine is named after. And it's my flagship bag that I'm releasing.
That is a cool feeling. I've been working on my flagship bag for about a year and a half now, and it's no closer to being done than it was when it started. So I can appreciate that. So that's really exciting. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, it's. I'm really. I literally just. I've made the first prototype, which went flawlessly. And we've just ordered the leather for the first, not prototype, the first actual bag, which is going to its namesake. It's going to be extremely exclusive. There's only going to be 5 made a year.
That is very, very cool. That is amazing. So people will definitely have to make sure they keep in touch with you and check those things
Absolutely.
out. And where can they find you so they can keep tabs on this exclusive?
It
You
is
heard
an
it here
exclusive.
first,
It is
folks.
a world first announcement of my new bag that's coming. So Treve came Treve is how it's spelled. It's pronounced Treve Cambridge on Instagram, and just my name Will Hodges on YouTube. And I'll be doing a full build video of it. I do get people asking me if I sell patterns. I do, but I won't be selling this one. This
I,
is my
I love
pattern.
it.
It's not going anywhere. And there will be a waiting list for it. I've already got quite a lot of interest. So
I love it. This is
I'm
amazing.
very excited to announce it with you here tonight.
This is so you heard it here first. We don't break exclusive news. Look at us. It's a first for
We're
us.
doing
So
good.
everybody
We're doing
listening.
good.
I'm very excited for you because I know the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into those things
Oh,
because I've been
absolutely.
drawing for years and I don't think I have anything that will moderately resemble a beautiful flagship bag. So I applaud you for actually seeing it all the way through because I think that is the hardest part.
It is, and because I like every other maker on the planet, and I'm going to use the word maker because for your benefit, like every other maker on the planet, I started by making stuff that other people made. I
Yeah.
started buying. Is it called quarter or courtier? I can never remember. But quarters patterns and making his little wallets, which is how you learn something. You do what other people are doing. That's
Yeah.
exactly how you learn something. But releasing my first fully handmade, I don't use any sewing machines or anything similar to that, as we've talked about. So it's a fully handmade um, handbag is really, really exciting, and it's something that I have worked on for quite literally years. So I'm really excited to bring it to market, bring it to the world, and not make many of them.
That's amazing. That is such a cool thing. So everybody listening, be sure to check out Will's flagship bag and all the rest of his content that he's making and putting out there so that everybody can continue learning the craft. So, Will, I appreciate everything that you're doing and, I think this is great as the craft evolves and people continue learning and growing. So, as always, you can find me at leather. Wow, hold on. I just forgot my own website. Leathershoppod.com and at leathershoppod, wherever you get your social media. As always, thank you everybody for listening. We will catch you next month. And Will, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.